Good evening. Thursday night, 10 o'clock, Crimewatch UK live, as always. Tonight, the fiancé of Sunday's road rage victim tells what happened and appeals to those who know his killer to call Crimewatch and name him.
Some remarkable results since our last programme, starting with the first of last month's reconstructions, those awful attacks on old folk in Barry in South Wales. A man has been charged with 15 offences, including robbery and grievous bodily harm. And as you've probably seen, 2 men have been sent to jail for life, and the judge said they were evil vultures and should never be let out again for the abduction and the murder of 9-year-old Daniel Handley. In November 1994, we showed how Daniel had gone missing from East London near his home. And then in May 1995, we reconstructed new clues. Well, 2 viewers gave key evidence. A psychiatrist remembered treating a man with a morbid sexual fantasy that matched the crime precisely. And there was also a prison officer for whom details seemed to click. Well, they rang the programme, and police say that their evidence was crucial in breaking the case. We have a lot more progress, which we'll give you later.
The British public can be great. Most people are friendly and only too pleased to lend a hand, as our first film this month illustrates. Except that, in this case, the Good Samaritan helped a group of men who'd got stuck in the middle of committing one of Europe's biggest ever robberies of cash. It happened in Hastings in Sussex on a Wednesday afternoon in early January, and it resulted in armed police gathered round a postal worker's house while he sat anxiously outside. We've changed several details for security reasons, and the postal worker is played by an actor.
The house looks clear. Back of the house looks clear, over.
Back of the house, nothing to be seen. If you can move up at the front, just sweep the front of the house, just check for me. Still no movement inside.
Our bedroom's upstairs, at the front, opposite the kids.
Look, don't worry about it. There's nothing going on at the house, upstairs, downstairs, front or back. So just relax, okay?
I don't know how much more of this I can take.
Look, it's all gonna be all right. Don't worry about it.
Colin worked at the main post office in Hastings in Cambridge Road. That Wednesday, he was working late, starting at 1 o'clock. This is a couple of streets away, 3.5 hours later.
As the van pulled up, he stared at me and I wondered if he knew me, because he was staring as though he knew me. He was about 5'9". He was in his mid-30s with short, dirty blonde hair, which was untidy. He was quite stocky and he had a beer belly. He ran past me towards the direction of the town. I thought it was a bit cheeky because he was parked in the doctor's space. That's why he was running, that he didn't want to get a ticket.
By this time, 4:30, Colin was on his tea break. His shift went on till 9 p.m. The man told Colin that his family were hostages, showed him a Polaroid of them, and said he must do exactly what he was told. Wait until he saw a white Luton van and then let it into the post office, and not contact anyone. Colin's first reaction was to call home.
Come on, pick up. Come on.
Although the cable had been cut, BT systems don't register the fact. Callers still hear a ringing tone. This is about 5 p.m. in St Leonard's, a couple of miles from Hastings Post Office. The entrance to the lorry depot was blocked by waiting cars.
Can you move your car, please, mate, so I can get in?
All right, mate.
Cheers. I'll describe him as mid-30s, early 40s, with a roundish face that was spotty around the forehead. He had long straight hair tied in a ponytail. He had stubble and a gold cross earring in his right ear. His voice was slightly hoarse. When I went round to unlock the gates, I noticed in the back window there was like a little football strip. It was maroon and blue with white shorts, like a West Ham strip. The car was a Ford Escort and it had a rear spoiler, had a sunroof and had fog lights on the front.
The men were trying to free a white van that had got bogged down on the grass verge. Colin should have dialed 999. Instead, his description of these waiting hours is that he was sick with worry, but couldn't quite believe this wasn't all a cruel joke.
Colin, you using anything with these? Yep, sure.
7 p.m, 2 hours since the white van first got stuck, and its driver finally asked for help from a coach company nearby.
Well, we was just getting the motors in before the buses coming about 7 o'clock, and they were all coming in, we was getting them parked up. And having this chap coming in at the same time was a bit of a nuisance.
I'm in a bit of a rush. I've got to get back to Tunbridge. There's a baby I've got to get back to.
Come on, you're all right. You ain't there, come on. Give us some more revs.
Sides! Clear! Get the cuffs! Back! Come on! Right, you, on your feet, now! Hands behind your back. Down. You, on your feet. Move!
In the next 30 minutes, terrorising the staff, the robbers, at least 4 of them, got into the safe, then loaded 28 post office sacks with cash. By 8:30, they were gone.
When the robbers drove off, we waited for about 20 minutes to make sure that they were gone, and then we called you.
Well, I'm as sure as I can be that it's all clear. But we're still going to be double careful when we go in. But I don't want you to worry. It's just standard procedure, OK? So I'll need the keys. Cheers.
Family's all well. No suspects on the premises. Repeat, no suspects on the premises. You can bring him in, over.
Well, Westwood, the family never had been taken hostage. The whole thing was a hoax.
Yes, the robbers never did take any hostages. It was, as you say, a hoax.
Now, normally on this programme, we appeal to the best instincts of the British public to try and help solve crime. In a way, you're appealing to the worst instincts tonight.
That's right.
Explain why.
Well, there's a large reward, £500,000, and at least 25,000 just for giving us a name. And we feel that there's a good possibility that some villains somewhere are ready to grasp for it, to get their hands on some of that money.
So £25,000 if someone can name, for example, the person that you've got quite a good description of?
Yes.
and leads to conviction, of course.
That's right.
And up to £500,000.
£500,000.
Right. Now, obviously, lots of clues people want to piece together. Underworld clues will include this automatic shotgun. At least this is an identical one to one used in the raid.
Yes,
now, why is this significant?
Used.
Why would people in the criminal underworld think
well,
they could connect this?
That itself is quite a rare gun. It's a French espouse, as you say. It's an automatic shotgun. Not many people have it. It is quite rare, and I would think that anybody who knew somebody with one of these weapons, they'd remember it, and we'd like to hear about them.
Now, there was a curious thing that happened in St Leonard's just about the time that van was being pulled out of the mud, which is a couple of guys going into a nearby petrol station just around the corner.
That's right, yes.
Explain the significance of that.
Well, this is at 6:35 p.m. and this is a petrol station which is just round the corner from where the van was stuck in the mud. These two guys are there with petrol cans. I believe that they were there rather than fill up a vehicle knowing that there are video cameras. They took the cans in to fill those up to fuel the vehicles. It may be, of course, that they are not connected, but do you know any of these two guys, either singly or together?
Indeed, if it's you, for heaven's sake, ring in. Let's get you eliminated. If you think you know who they are, call us. If you can help in any other way, remember it's a free call, 0500 600. Please make a note of that number, 0500 600. It's good for all of our cases tonight. Or you can call the incident room direct on this case, 01424 456 062. That's Hastings 456 062. Now, with a mysterious disappearance, here is Detective Constable Jackie Hames.
Yes, this case features a postmaster in Cheshire who vanished at the same time as a large amount of cash. John Rowland ran a sub-post office in Sutton Weaver near Northwich. One Saturday evening in April, his wife went to bed as usual and in the morning found he just wasn't there. He'd taken in the Sunday newspaper deliveries, that was at 6 a.m, and then he'd driven off in his Peugeot 405 Estate. Its registration number is, or was, J951MBG. He filled up with fuel and hasn't been seen since, unless of course you know different. Here he is in a woman's magazine 3 years ago. He was their star slimmer, down from 32 stone to just 12. Does he still have that shoulder-length red hair? And note the chip in his front tooth. 0500 600 600 or the local police are on 01244 613 235. That's Chester 613 235.
Sometimes it seems to take a national appeal to solve a local crime. A frightening series of attacks has been confined to Winchester in Hampshire. Over the last 5 years and on at least 4 occasions, a masked man has held up courting couples at Farley Mount Country Park.
And this is David Dunning with the news update. A 16-year-old girl has been abducted at gunpoint from a beauty spot near Winchester and sexually assaulted. The police are linking the incident with 3 previous attacks in the area since 1991.
When I heard the news on the radio, I knew that it was the same man that attacked me over 3.5 years ago.
In that case, in 1992, the man had used a large pickup truck with black bull bars, spotlights, a crunching gear, rounded wheel arches, a tailgate at the rear, a canvas top, and inside a wooden floor.
And I knew that he was still out there and he was still doing it.
She remembers being put down on concrete, hearing a sound like a fridge starting up, and then being taken up some stairs. She also recalls she had to duck her head.
He then led me into a bedroom, put me down, and then raped me.
The last attack was a month ago, on Monday, the 22nd of April. 2 students had only just started going out together and had gone to explore the monument. It was dark when they saw a car come into the car park. This is how the other attacks had started.
Okay.
Nothing.
It's good at driving, isn't it?
I think it's far better driving than you.
Thanks.
I noticed it was a 4-door saloon, modern shape sort of car. possibly red.
Moments later, a man walked past with 2 small dogs and a cigarette glowing in the darkness.
What's that? Look at that bloke. How on earth can he see where he's going?
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
You okay? Yeah, I'm fine. You?
Yeah, fine.
Yes, I've got a gun.
All right, mate.
Turn round and face the back.
I was scared, but I wasn't petrified at that point because he was so calm himself. He was very well spoken, which was a kind of reassurance. It was of the southern sort of accent.
Face round.
Voice, I thought, was slightly effeminate.
Have you got any money?
Yeah, I've got my wallet.
He had a torch. It was quite a long torch, about 1 foot long, very heavy duty. It's possibly a mag light.
The boyfriend was also tied up securely.
There's nothing in there.
I'm taking your girlfriend with me for a walk. She can come back and untie you.
Don't hurt her! Swear you won't hurt her!
When I heard Sally scream, my mouth went dry completely. I've never experienced that before in my life. It was a feeling of sheer terror. Immediately, I feared the worst.
Eventually, he managed to get free.
Sally! Sally!
If I tipped my head back, I could see underneath the tape, and I could see the dashboard in front of me, the centre of the dashboard. There were 3 dials horizontally across.
Can't you just let me go here?
No, there are too many people around.
I remember seeing sort of signs and things that I recognised, so I could make my way back. While he was driving me, I felt he knew the area quite well. He kept driving and we passed the Rack and Manger pub. Shortly after, we turned off the road towards Letford, and at this point I became worried because I'd never been up this road before. I didn't know where it was going.
Help! Please help! Someone's kidnapped my girlfriend!
He stopped the car. I could see sort of the back half of his face, and he had brown, short, curly hair, wavy hair, with short, thin sideburns. I got an impression that the car was red. It was about Cavalier size, and it had a boot rather than being a hatchback. The car definitely had a boot. He let me up against the boot of the car and indecently assaulted me. I thought, I'm not going to let him get away with this, and pushed him away and told him to let me go. The only reason I can think that he let me go without a fight was that I was so calm in the car. I didn't let him get the better of me as such. I didn't cry or get upset or anything. I was just calm, really.
Great presence of mind. Well, police are linking that attack in April with 3 others on Farley Mount. There was another in November 94, November 92, and the first one they know about was January 1991. So it does seem as if the man involved had a connection with Winchester over those years. But Graham Haycock, every time the man responsible wore a balaclava, so how are you able to piece together the description of him?
Well, we've been very lucky to prepare a composite description of the man over the past few years. He's described as a white male. He's aged between 25 and 40 years. He's 6 feet tall, medium to stocky build. He's got short, dark brown, wavy hair with thin sideburns. We know that in 1992, in November, he had a moustache. He's well-spoken, he's got a southern accent, always very calm and controlled in his manner, and he's never aggressive.
Now, you have one potential witness that you're very anxious to trace to this last attack, the man who was seen walking the dogs.
Yes, we're very anxious to talk to him. He's a man who walked past the front of the car a few minutes before the attacker struck. He was smoking a cigarette. We know he had 2 small dogs, possibly West Highland Terriers, and he walked towards the car park where we know the offender had parked his car.
Now, there have been striking similarities in all these cases, which you really want the viewers to piece together all the clues to point them in the direction of one man.
Yes.
Tell us about the same links that go through them all.
On each occasion, he produces a shiny black pistol, which may be real, it may be imitation, and possibly a Beretta. There are long, wide cable ties, which are used to tie up the couples. He uses a canvas-type shoulder bag, which is light cream or light blue. He always uses a black 12-inch mag light torch and silver grey tape with an orange peel feel to it.
And briefly, there was a distinctive jacket that he wore in the attack in November 92.
Yes, he wore an olive green Italian-type combat jacket with 2 distinctive stars, one on each collar.
Suggesting a link to the armed forces, possibly?
Possibly, and also these could have been purchased from an army surplus store.
Now, the red car, the victim believes it may have been a Peugeot 309.
Yes, she believes it's red, a Peugeot 309 with central locking.
And he may have had access in 92 to a pickup-type vehicle.
A large-type pickup vehicle with a canvas roof and a wooden floor, possibly a Jeep or a Land Rover or something of that nature.
Well, Graham Haycock, thank you very much. A lot of clues there, and possibly had access to a farm building as well, possibly on farmland within a 15-mile radius of Winchester. Now, here's the number. If there's any way you think you can contribute to stopping these awful attacks, it's 0500 600 600. That's a free call number, 0500 600 600. Mr. Haycock and his colleagues are taking calls here, and other detectives are in the incident room in Alton, and they're on 01420 822 44. That's Alton 822 44.
Now the crime that's become a focus of national concern, the murder of Stephen Cameron as he went to talk with a driver on a roundabout off the M25 in Kent. Detectives on the case are in the studio, and we'll hear from them in just a moment.
But first, Stephen's fiancée. She's been traumatised and under medical care since Sunday, but now she makes an appeal to those who might be sheltering the killer. I spoke to her this afternoon. Danielle, how long had you known Stephen?
We've been together for 3 years. We got engaged at Christmas time. I was going to get married soon.
Now, on the day that Stephen was killed, you were just going out for a leisurely drive, weren't you? What happened? What can you remember about that?
Steve wanted to get some bagels, and he wanted me to drive. And I said, you know, I'll drive, but you have to watch me on the motorway. He said, yes, no problem. And all of a sudden, this car come round, and I had to quickly brake. And Steve was sort of joking about, shaking his head. And he stopped at the traffic lights, and he got out of the car.
This was the other driver? Mm. What did he do?
He stopped and he got out of his car, and so Steve got out to see what he wanted, and then he hit him. So I got out, and I was just asking him not to hurt him.
Yeah, of course. And then I know it's difficult for you, I know, Danielle, but then he became more aggressive, didn't he? He got the knife out, and totally unprovoked, he stabbed Stephen. Can you think of any reason why somebody would want to do that? What would you say to someone who knows this person?
Just phone. You don't have to give a name. Just tell us who it is, because we feel that we can't grieve about him until this person's been found.
You've been very brave, Danielle, for coming in today. I know how much it is still very, very raw for you, and I'm sure that everybody watching feels the way you do. And let's hope tonight that by your coming in, something will happen. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks.
Sean Grace, there were several independent witnesses. Do they all confirm Danielle's account that Stephen had not been aggressive in any way?
Well, it does show that certainly the incident started with this other man being the aggressor, but certainly Stephen did try to defend himself when he was initially punched.
Now, is this road rage? I mean, that's how it's been described by all the newspapers, television news and everything. Is that how you see it? Is that what happened?
No, this is a murder investigation. There was no provocation. Stephen didn't provoke anybody, and nor did Danielle. She was just driving along the road. When this man confronted them at the traffic lights and got out of the vehicle, Stephen just went out to find out what the trouble was.
I mean, do you think this is, in any case, a violent man? Could this have happened in a pub, on a pavement, anywhere else?
Yes, it could. It could have been the bumping of the shoulders along the road. If a person is that way inclined, is violent, and will be provoked at the slightest detail, this is why we need to catch this person.
You've had such enormous publicity so far since this happened on Sunday. You still haven't had the particular call that you need. Do you think someone's shielding him?
It is possible. We thank the public. They've been very, very helpful, gave us lots and lots of calls. But what we really want tonight is to connect a name and an address to this person.
So you don't want... I mean, the trouble with Crimewatch is you often get, on a case like this, 1,000, 2,000 calls. You don't want that.
No, we don't. We really do want those who think that they know who this person is, that can link the description that we have of this person in their late 30s to early 50s, about 5 foot 10 inches tall, with this L registration Land Rover Discovery. They are the names we want. We want the name of this person.
And you want to find somebody who maybe has ditched this Land Rover Discovery or has had it in the garage for a long time. If you can help, please ring. You can call straight away. You might save a lot of unnecessary grief by ending the inquiry sooner rather than later. 0500 600, that's our free call number, 0500 600 600. Or you can call the incident room direct if you prefer, 01622 654 321. That's Maidstone, 654 321.
Well, some more to tell you. In fact, since last month's viewers' calls have led to a total of 8 men and 1 woman being charged and 6 more being convicted. Apart from the murder case we told you about earlier, the crimes include murder, manslaughter, robbery, attempted robbery, burglary, handling and fraud. Last September, Tony Sullivan was stabbed outside a London nightclub. Now, you may remember that Debbie Sullivan came into the studio to describe the night her husband died. Well, her appeal jogged people's consciences and witnesses called in. The killer has been sentenced to 10 years. And as you may have read in the papers, a youth in Liverpool was horrified when he sat down to watch Crimewatch and saw himself, along with a friend of his, trying to rob a building society. Well, they've each now been sentenced to 3 years and 9 months. And now, with some fraudsters caught on camera, here's Superintendent David Hatcher.
The first is a one-man crime wave. He steals or gets hold of stolen cheques and then forges signatures to try to swindle people. Here he is in Ware in Hertfordshire on a Monday last October. This is one time when he succeeded in drawing cash. He's been foiled in many other cases. He's in his 40s, tall, thin and with pockmarked cheeks. Here he is again, this time at Southend in Essex. He's also tried this on in Lincolnshire, Buckinghamshire, Leicestershire, Powys, London and maybe other places too. 0500 600 600 is the studio number, or you can call officers direct on 01245 452 120. That's Chelmsford 452 120. Now to these two who were rumbled by the manageress of a branch of Thomas Cook in Hertfordshire. And here they are again in Hertford at a Bradford and Bingley branch. A day earlier they were in a Rugby, cashing a cheque they'd drawn on a stolen passbook. They're both in their 20s or 30s. He's fairly tall and slim, while she was described as very pale. Do you know them? Do call us 0500 600 600, or you can call the local police on 0115 967 2536. That's Nottingham 967 2536.
I can tell you that a large number of people have put forward the same name for one of the people who was seen in the petrol station. That was on the security camera video to do with the robbery, the post office robbery in Hastings. I should point out that may be an elimination, that person, and we've got a potential new victim of the Farley Mount attacks in Winchester. A lot of information coming in at the moment. Now, as you'll have seen, there's to be a lot of new investment in school security, including closed-circuit television cameras. And if you want to see how useful they can be, take a look at this. This man indecently assaulted a 12-year-old at a school in Chelmsford in Essex. It's thought he's offended before. Please don't let him do it again. He's in his 20s. He's just under 6 foot tall with short blonde hair and a red padded shirt. 0500 600 600. That's 0500 600 600. Or you can call the officers direct, as always, on 01 245 452 120. That's Chelmsford 452 120. And now here's Detective Constable Jackie Hames.
Now, with two men who have been described as smooth and charming, but not by their victims. The first is Peter Thompson. At any rate, we think that's his real name, but he does use dozens. In February, using the name Robert Bowen, he befriended a woman in North Wales and stayed with her. He soon left, though, and so did much of her wealth. All sorts of strange things seem to happen around him, though one common factor is he usually says he's a soldier. Someone like him has been using stolen cheques and cards and feigned illness to get into hospitals. He once conned money out of a patient in the next bed. Peter Thompson is 34, with receding brown hair, tattoos on both hands and arms, and the top of his little finger is missing. If you know where he is, please call 01492 511 388. That's Colwyn Bay 511 388. Now to the other charmer, Dennis Reardon. Again, he uses lots of different names, and again, he has an easy way of convincing people he's sincere. On one occasion, he befriended a woman in Lincolnshire, pretending he was a taxman, and persuaded her to give him her financial paperwork, including cheques and cash. He might have been operating in different cons in Suffolk, Norfolk, Warwickshire and Cornwall. 0500 600 600, or you can call officers direct on 01205 366 222. That's Boston in Lincolnshire, 366 222.
In our next case, it appears a car was used as a murder weapon. Now, running someone over accidentally is tragic, but the driver who hit Danny Marlowe apparently did so deliberately. Why anyone should wish to harm this taxi driver from Market Harborough is a mystery.
Yeah, Sheriff 4, go ahead.
Right, Danny, can you go straight to number 10? That's 110 Alexis Street, straight away, please, mate.
Yeah, sure, all right, but I'm going to the bookies now. I've got to put a bet on the 245 at Epsom.
I would say everybody knew him. You know, they'd say, Danny Marlowe, yeah, I know him. He was known for his funniness, his sense of humour mainly. Like, if I was in a bad mood with him, by the end of the day, I couldn't be, you know what I mean? He'd be messing about and trying to make me laugh and things like that. Even though, you know, I was trying to be angry with him, I can't do it. He was a good dad. He'd take them anywhere, he'd buy them anything. He always took them to the pictures, or if they wanted to go somewhere, like the amusement parks and that, he took them to all them. Some people didn't know how to take him. Once they got to know Danny, they knew how to take his sense of humour. Sometimes he'd get their back up, and then the next minute they'd be all together laughing, joking, and forgotten about.
It's 7:30 on the evening of Thursday, the 22nd of February, and Danny, who plays pool for his local team, is due to join them for an away match.
Who's that?
Dunno. He asked if we were playing away tonight. Said he'd be there to cheer us on.
You're not expecting any trouble, are you?
Oh, I'll be all right.
This was the first in a series of anonymous calls that Danny received over the next 3 weeks.
Go to the pot, Danny.
Superb.
Danny Marlowe, is there Danny Marlowe here, please?
Yeah, I'm Danny Marlowe.
Telephone.
Hello? Yeah, I'm Danny Marlowe. No, mate. No, you got the wrong one. No, there's another Danny Marlowe lives in Kibworth. Yeah, he plays pool as well. That's all right. Bye.
For the second time that night, Danny had taken a mysterious phone call, Who was he trying to fob off? It's just before 8 and Danny's on the way to a pool match, this time at home in the pub at the end of his street.
Nice break.
Call that a nice break? I could do better than that with my eyes closed.
Yeah, and one arm tied behind your back, eh?
Yeah.
Danny?
I reckon I could
Danny?
see it over from here, though.
Danny, it's a phone call for you, OK?
Again a male voice, again anonymous, and at the same time of night, 10:30.
I was watching telly most of the night, then emptied the washing machine, and then I went up to bed about 20 to 11.
Danny left the pub soon after the call and walked back home to Caxton Street.
What's all this then?
I live in Caxton Street. When I was just about to go to sleep and heard two male voices, didn't think anything of it at all. Just sounded like two people just come home from the pub, two mates talking. But as they were getting further apart, they were still shouting to each other. A few seconds later, I heard a car pulling off really fast. Then I heard like clattering noises.
Yes? What is it, Tina? It's been an accident. We think it's Danny. Quick, come on. Oh, my God, where?
When they said, I think Danny's had an accident, he's lying in the road, I thought perhaps he's had a bit of an argument with somebody and maybe he's been roughed up a bit. And when I got outside and just see him laying there and seeing his injuries, I thought, no, it can't be him lying there. You know, it didn't sink in. I knew it was him, but I suppose I didn't want to believe it was him.
Danny's injuries were so severe that he died on the way to hospital. "40 minutes later, a stolen Ford Granada was found burning 9 miles away. Was this the car that killed Danny and left 2 boys without a father?
I don't quite know what to say to them. You know, what can you say? I can't tell them why the dad was killed. I can't tell them because I don't know him myself. We say he's gone to heaven. We go up to the grave, we sit, we talk to him, and that's what they do. They tell him what they've done, you know, in that day or that week. Say bye to him, tell him they love him, and then we come away.
Bob Small, you're treating Danny's death as suspicious. Do you believe he was deliberately run over?
It's very difficult to say for certain what did take place in Caxton Street, but there are certainly aspects of the case that make me suspicious, and I believe that he was deliberately run over. Certainly the injuries that he sustained aren't consistent with those you might expect to find on a normal hit and run. It's very likely, in fact, that Danny could well have been lying in the road before he was run over.
So if it was deliberate, why?
Well, we've done extensive inquiries into his background, and so far we've been unable to come up with a specific motive. We are aware that he has several debts, but none of a particularly substantial nature. It is possible that he has other non-legitimate debts that we're yet to find out about, and that certainly the phone calls could be connected with people trying to recover that money.
So you want calls from people who may be able to provide a motive, obviously,
Most definitely,
in that way.
yes.
Now, that car that was found burning on that night, how much emphasis are you putting on that and linking that to the murder?
Although we can't categorically link the car to the inquiry, we believe it is involved, and certainly residents in Caxton Street do recall a high-powered automatic car leaving the scene. In fact, one man went so far to say is that he believed the sound of the engine to be an automatic high-powered Granada car.
Now, that car had been stolen a week before, so you want to know its movements, don't you?
We certainly do. It was stolen on the 28th of February from Northampton, It's been somewhere in the week between the 28th and the night of Danny's death. It's either been stored or been used. We believe that there are people out there that can help us tell us the whereabouts of that car.
Do you think there's more than one person involved in all this?
I do believe that there are people that can help us shed light on the circumstances surrounding Danny's death. They may well not have been present at the time he was run over, and it's those people that we'd appeal to come forward.
And I know there is a reward, and you're also wanting to trace a potential witness who was seen jogging outside the Bell pub on a mobile phone, getting into a red Metro about the time that Danny was knocked down.
That's correct. He's possibly a potential witness.
Thank you very much indeed, Bob. Well, if there's any way you can help find Danny's killer, please do call 0500 600 600, or you can call the incident room direct on 0116 248 3817. That's Leicester 248 3817. Here now is Superintendent David Hatcher again.
These are two robberies, both on the same day, both at service stations, both in the same part of Middlesex. But it seems it's just an unprecedented coincidence, for the two crimes feature different youths. This is Hayes at lunchtime on Sunday the 10th of March. The robber asks for cigarettes, pretends he has a gun and demands money. The cashier refuses, struggles with him, and the man takes flight with less than £30. He's in his early 20s, and note his shoulder-length fair hair. Now, this is Northwood, that same Sunday, but now 8:45 in the evening. This frantic young man is younger, 16 to 19, slim, with yellow and black lumberjack shirt. If you recognise either of them, 0500 600 600, or call direct to the officers on 0181 246 1425. That's 0181 246 1425.
Well, I'll give you some progress now. John Grace, the Detective Superintendent in charge of the so-called road rage incident in Kent, said he didn't want huge numbers of callers, he wanted quality. And remarkably, because we expected we might get 1,000 calls if we weren't careful, but we've got 40 so far, that's all. And it does look as though there's quite good information. The difficulty is, in truth, it's very difficult to say at this stage how good. I can tell you that we've got 8 names put into the system. I think all 8 of those are new. On the Hastings robbery, there's almost certainly been a positive identification of at least one of the men we showed in the security video taken from the petrol station, but almost certainly that's going to be an elimination. On the other hand, the latest count, we have 22 names now put forward for members of the gang as such. On the Farley Mount attacks, as I said earlier, a potential new victim has come forward who thinks she was attacked by the same man. That was 7 years ago. And we've got quite a lot of new information coming in on that as well. And on John Edward Rowland, a good deal of information coming in from the West Country.
Well, that's all for this month. Here's the number for any of our cases, and you'll find local numbers on CFAX on page 614. Or if you've information on any crimes that we haven't covered, do try Crime Stoppers. They're on 0800 555 111. That's 0800 555 111.
We'll be back with Crimewatch Update at 11:45. Please join us then, and I hope that we'll have more news then to make it worthwhile staying up. If, though, it's beyond your bedtime, we'll bring you up to date a month from now. The end of nightmares. Do sleep well. Good night.
Good night.